All right, we're working on the Red Big Ideas Record and Practice Journal. Today we are working on 3.3, and what we are trying to get accomplished today is we're adding or subtracting equations, and then finally the last step is we just want to check our work to make sure it checks out. We should have talked about opposite land. The first thing we want to do is we want to identify our variable. Our variable is k, and then we want to isolate our variable. We want to get our variable by itself. In order to get rid of it, since we have negative 5.47 plus k, we need to add 5.47. If we're adding it on this side, we need to make sure we add it on the other side. So we're going to add 5.47. Now, what we have to do though is we have different signs. So because we have different signs, technically what we're going to do is we're going to subtract, because we have negative 14.19 and we're adding 5.47. So we're just going to subtract. 11 minus 4 is 7, 13 minus 5 is 8, and then 8.72, but remember it's going to be negative because negative 14.19 is bigger than 5.47. So what we have just found is we have just found k is equal to negative 8.72. Now, one of the more important final steps is we just want to plug in 8.72 in for k, and that's negative. Okay, so we've got negative 5.47 plus negative 8.72. Does that equal negative 14.19? Well, 7 and 2 is 9, 4 and 7 is 11, carry the 1. 5 and 8 plus 1 is going to be 14, so it does check out, and we know our variable is the value of negative 8.72. So that's kind of how the important thing is just go back and check your work to make sure your number works when you plug it in for the variable of k. And that one does check out. Number 7 is a little bit more challenging because we are given the actual story problem. 42 less than x is negative 50. Well, remember, if we're dealing with is, that's just another way of saying equals. And we want to just be able to write out what the equation is. 42 less than x would be x minus 42. So x minus 42 equals negative 50. Now we need to do the same thing that we did up on the top. We want to identify our variable x, and now we want to isolate our variable x. So we're getting rid of the 42 by canceling it off. And then over here, we are going to add 42 to negative 50. Our signs are different. We're adding 42. Negative 50 plus 42 would be negative 8. So x is equal to negative 8. The final step that I want to do just to check my work to make sure it is correct, I'm going to plug in negative 8 for x. So I'm going to go negative 8 minus 42 equals negative 50. Does that check out? Remember, you got to change your signs. If we're subtracting, we can make that a plus. That becomes a negative. Negative 8 plus negative 42 does indeed equal negative 50. So I have just done my check, and I know the problem works, so I know x is equal to negative 8. Remember, we're talking about opposite land. Whatever happens, we need to do the opposite. If they're subtracting 42, we need to add 42, and that's what we did over here. Up top, if they have negative 5.47, we need to add 5.47, and that's what we did on the other side. So you're isolating your variables, and you are working on 3.2, adding and subtracting equations. And don't forget to check your work.